Welcome back to The Grind. In this video, we are going to be talking about runes, glyphs on monuments, as well as the rider and perches that go on your base to help clarify some of the questions and confusions that have come up with the Fix My Base videos. Now, if you haven't seen them yet, then go check out the playlist on my channel of how to fix my base. We have so far done a couple about when you've built too many towers at lower level than your max, how to adjust and make it work, as well as how to transition from a short kill island where you're set up on island 3 to a long kill island where you're set up spread out across 2 islands, either 4 to 5 or islands 1 to 2. Now, one of the main things that you need to be prepared to do when you transition is to move your glyphs and runes from the monuments. Now, when you click on a monument, you can see which islands that monument applies to. So the runes and glyphs on this monument only apply to island 3. When you click on this monument over here, you can see it only applies to the towers on island 5. And if you want to look at island 4, you have to click on this monument here. And that will be the runes and glyphs that apply to that island. When you click on your perch, you will see the same thing. Where does the benefits from this perch apply? It only applies to islands 1 through 3. Therefore, if you are going to move your towers, your main defensive towers from these islands over to island 3 to 4, you must move your perch over to this one, the Riverwatch perch. Otherwise, all the stats from your rider, your dragon, and your gear will be doing nothing for your base. You will see a massive drop in your defensive power, but more importantly, your towers will be significantly weaker and you'll not be able to shoot down any dragons in comparison. So you must be prepared to move over. And what that means is you need to level up this perch to level 30 or 31. I forget which one it is, but at level 30, you'll start to see that you are getting the 100% boost from that perch. And it'll say somewhere on this page here, if you're not quite at the right level, it'll say you're getting a certain percentage of it because you're not at the right level. And then it'll show you the stats that you're getting. Now, the other thing is if you have all your runes and glyphs on this monument, these are expensive to remove. The higher tier value they are, the more expensive it is. But if you're going to move them over, you're going to have to be prepared to dish out those rubies and put them back onto these monuments so that they can actually benefit the towers once you move them. Otherwise, you want to have backup runes and glyphs just saved. Maybe hold off on putting your best runes and glyphs on if you know you're going to transition in a few months or so. So that is one of the main 2 pieces of information that you must be prepared when you move and transition to the Long Island. The other thing that I want to point out is how monuments and runes and glyphs work. So let's see here. I have no runes and glyphs on here. We're going to test something out. I have 7.14 billion defense power, and we're going to place a rune or a glyph. Let's do a glyph, and we're going to place one that I don't see myself using. So I have lots of these dark flak attack glyphs. So we're going to put one of them over here and see what happens. So we're going to place it there and look at my defense power. Now it is 7.15. So how did that work? I don't even have a dark flak on this island. Why would my defense power go up? Well, the answer is that each rune and glyph has a set value for defense power for your base. So it can increase your defense power without actually benefiting your base. So runes and glyphs and how it relates to your defense power is meaningless. So you don't want to rely on defense power. The other thing about defense power is when you look at my base and you see I've only got, say, or like, was it 7 now towers that are at max level? I have 7 billion, and this is unboosted. I haven't boosted up my monuments in a while. So it would go up if we do that. And let's just do a couple on each of these and see what it comes to. This is another important factor. When you do transition over to a long kill island, there's 2 monuments for this setup. So 1 monument for the front you have to put boosts on, and another monument for the back you have to put boosts on. And now I'm up to a nice rounded 11 billion defense. So that's fairly nice boost from that 7 billion we were talking about before. But what you need to remember is the runes and glyphs and the length of your base can be really confusing to your defense power, because for me, having 7 max towers with 11 billion defense, you can look at a base that has 15 billion defense, but they've got 15 to 20 towers that they've leveled up, and none of them are at max tower. So they're all less than level 90, and their defense power looks a lot better, but really their base is going to be much weaker than a base that's set up like mine. So defense power is not really as important as the number of towers and what level they are. Now, of course, if you have a base with the same setup as me and their defense power is lower, that's most likely related to not having the base boost or not having their boosts active or the runes and glyphs. But if you really want to artificially increase your defense power, you can put some high tier runes and glyphs on a monument that is meaningless. And so that can make your base look like it's stronger, but really it will be weaker. So that is how the defense power can be confusing. And that's why when I tell people to move to a long island, I say, don't worry if you somehow lose a couple million defense power points. And some people are really concerned about, yeah, I moved over and my defense power was 10 million less. Well, when you go from 250 million defense power to 240 million defense power, that really doesn't mean anything, especially if, as we've talked about, the 2 important things, you've moved your rider over so you're still getting the full boosts, and you've moved your runes and glyphs or added different runes and glyphs. That is more important because you're still getting the same boosts in your stats, and now you have more than 5 towers working together to take down a dragon. And as we said in those other videos, the utility from some of these towers, even when they're not at max, for example, these 2 lightning towers, they're not dealing much damage. But the fact that they are on this island means that this tower that is at max level has the super shot dealing a lot more damage because of how they interact. And if I take that off and put a storm tower, and that storm protects my howitzer and my Dracul pylon for a little bit longer, that utility I can get from a level 1 storm tower or an ice flak in the back that's only level 1, it can still disable the tower. So the utility can still come. And so even if your defense power goes down a little bit, that isn't really something to be concerned about. As long as you have a solid setup of your towers that interact together, you've moved your runes and glyphs, and you have the second perch leveled up high enough so that you can put your, there we go, that you can put your rider over there and still get the full boost from it. So I hope that was a helpful breakdown of some of the basics of runes, glyphs on monuments, as well as the perch and how they all interact with your base, with your defense power, and the importance of each of them. The other thing to take note of is, for example, this rider over here, I have the construction time reduction, 12% construction time reduction. So those kind of general base-wide stats, they apply to the entire base. It doesn't matter where you're leveling up the tower. It can be on any spot on the island. The other thing about it is that 12% construction time reduction does not stack with another 12% or another 10% or whatever construction time reduction. Those stats, it only counts whichever one is the highest. Okay, so that is something that is important to realize. And then the building HP and building attack stats, that those are specific to the region that the tower affects. I know it's kind of confusing because like which ones are going to apply where, but it is the fact that the HP and the specific stats to the towers will stay only, like the red mage HP and the lightning tower attack, those only affect the towers falling within this green region. However, the construction time and the research time reductions, those will apply for the entire base. It's not island specific, and they are not stacking. So if I put a construction time reduction over on this perch that is less than the 12%, it will not do anything for my base. It does not add an additional 8 to 10% on top of the 12. The only one that counts is the highest value stat. So I hope that clarifies some things and helps you understand a little bit more about making the transition, or about how defense power works and what it means on a base. But you really have to consider the tower level, the number of towers, the player level, and then the defense power as a last kind of stat to tell you how strong the base is, because the player level and the defense power on its own is meaningless. They all have to be combined to really know if the base is well built and if it's truly a strong base. So I hope that was helpful. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or clarifications or things to add. But take a look at the other Fix My Base videos after watching this, and hopefully that some of those things will make a little bit more sense. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.